Robert Montgomery, the towering CEO of Montgomery Construction, stood frozen in the shadows of his grand Connecticut mansion, his eyes fixed on a simple, almost unnoticed scene in the garden. An older man, black and worn from years of hard labor, gently feeding a young boy with a tenderness that felt like a punch to Robert's chest. The boy, Sime Johnson, sat quietly on a bench accepting the food with a calmness that seemed to hide 1,000 unspoken words. Sime's eyes, now dark and unfocused, had been blind for over 2 years. Yet here he was, reaching out, touching, sensing, alive in a way Robert could only dream of understanding. The man feeding him was Marcus Johnson, a bricklayer whose hands had the roughness of the earth, but whose voice carried a warmth that cut through Robert's defenses like a blade. Robert's heart hammered in his chest. How could this stranger, a man he barely knew, connect with Sime so deeply while he, the boy's own father, was paralyzed by guilt? 2 years ago, Robert had been behind the wheel that changed everything. An ordinary day turned nightmare when a drunk driver veered into his lane. His daughter Sime's sister had been sitting in the back seat. The accident left her blind, her world reduced to darkness, her smile fading into silence. Since then, Robert had buried himself in work, hiding behind towering buildings and deadlines, trying to drown the guilt that gnawed at his soul. He couldn't bear to face Sime's pain, nor his own. He avoided the garden, the boy, the man, anything that reminded him of what he'd lost. But today, something was different. Marcus was working on transforming the garden into a sensory paradise. Plants with fragrant scents, textured leaves, and colors described with vivid words. "This red is like the warmth of the summer sun, on your face," he told Sime, who touched a flower with careful fingers, listening intently. The boy smiled faintly, a ghost of a smile Robert hadn't seen in a long time. Robert retreated into the shadows, feeling a strange mixture of shame, guilt, and a flicker of something unfamiliar, curiosity. How was it possible that this man, who knew nothing of Robert's world, could reach into Sime's heart so effortlessly? The boy's laughter rang out, light, genuine, almost forgotten, and Robert's hands clenched into fists. What was he doing here? Why did this stranger seem to know so much about pain, about loss, about hope? And why did he seem so at peace despite the scars of his past? As he watched, Robert's mind spiraled into chaos. He remembered the day of the accident, the chaos, the guilt, the helplessness. He remembered how he had tried to buy his way out of his pain, drowning himself in work and wealth, avoiding the truth. But now here was Marcus with his quiet strength, his patience, and his invisible wounds. Wounds Robert could see only now, reflected in the boy's unseeing eyes. Suddenly, Mrs. Peterson's voice echoed through the mansion's hallway, breaking the spell. "Sir, there's an important call from China about the Shanghai project." Robert blinked, torn from his thoughts. He nodded distractedly, casting one last glance at the garden before turning away. As he walked, his gaze lingered on a framed photograph of his late wife Eleanor, smiling softly. His voice barely a whisper. "You would have known what to do, Eleanor. You always knew." He stepped into his office where the glow of the city lights seeped through the windows. His phone buzzed, an unfamiliar number. Without thinking, he answered. "Mr. Montgomery, I need to talk to you about Sime Johnson," a voice said urgently. It was a voice he didn't recognize, but it carried a weight that made his stomach tighten. "Who is this?" Robert asked, voice cold. "You don't know me, but I've been watching him, and I need to tell you something important, something that could change everything." The voice paused. "He's not just any boy. There's more to his story, and yours than you realize." Robert's heart pounded. Who was this stranger? What secrets lay hidden behind the boy's blind eyes? That night, as darkness cloaked the mansion, Robert lay awake, haunted by the image of Sime and Marcus in the garden. Beneath the surface of normalcy, something dark was stirring, something that could tear apart everything Robert thought he knew about his family, his daughter, and himself. The game had begun, and the first move was about to be revealed. The window shattered with a deafening crash. Glass exploded inward, raining down like deadly rain. In the dim light, Robert's heart pounded so loud he thought it would burst. Marcus moved instinctively, diving toward the door, pulling out a small concealed device. "They're here," Marcus hissed, voice tense. "Someone's trying to get in. Not just watching, they're coming." Robert's mind scrambled. Who was it? What did they want? The shadows outside moved again, darker and more deliberate. Someone was lurking, waiting for the perfect moment. "Stay here," Marcus ordered, voice low and commanding. "I'll check it out. If I don't come back, don't," Robert cut him off. "We're in this together. Whatever they want, we face it now." Marcus hesitated, eyes flickering with something fierce, determination, anger, maybe even fear. "Fine, but we do this carefully. This isn't just some intruder. This is bigger. Someone's protecting the doctor. Someone's covering his tracks." Before Robert could respond, the sound of footsteps, slow and calculated, echoed across the hall. Someone was inside, closer than ever. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the doorway, silhouetted against the flickering light from the broken window. A man, tall, with sharp features shadowed by the darkness. His voice was cold, measured. "You shouldn't have come here," he said, voice dripping with menace. "This is not your fight. Step aside and I won't hurt you." Marcus stepped forward, fists clenched. "Who are you?" The man chuckled softly. "I'm someone who knows what you're after, and I suggest you walk away before things get ugly." Robert felt a surge of adrenaline. "You're protecting Dr. Bennett, aren't you? The doctor who lied, who hurt those children." The man's eyes flickered, then he sneered. "You don't know what you're talking about. Stay out of this or you'll regret it." Suddenly, the figure lunged forward, reaching for something in his coat. Marcus reacted instantly, pulling out a makeshift weapon, something he kept hidden. The man froze, eyes narrowing. "You're not smart enough to stop what's coming," he spat. "You think you're uncovering secrets? You're just pawns, all of you." In that instant, the back door burst open. Two more figures spilled inside, masks hiding their faces. They moved with purpose, tools in hand. The intruders had come fully prepared. This was no random break-in. This was a coordinated attack. Robert's mind spun. Who were these people? Why now? Was it about Syme? About Bennett? Or something even darker? "Run!" Marcus shouted. "Get out of here!" Robert hesitated, then realized they were outnumbered, overwhelmed. He grabbed Syme's favorite toy from the desk, clutching it tightly as a talisman, then grabbed Marcus's arm. "Let's go!" Robert yelled, pushing past the chaos. He sprinted toward the staircase, heart pounding in his ears. Gunfire echoed in the distance. Someone was shooting outside, maybe even inside. They burst into the corridor, racing toward the cellar door. But the intruders were faster. The door slammed shut behind them, trapping them in the basement. In the darkness, Robert fumbled for a light switch, but nothing happened. He could hear footsteps above, closing in. "Who are these people?" Robert gasped, voice trembling. Marcus's face was grim. "They're after the truth. They don't want us to find out what Bennett's really doing. And now they're willing to kill for it." Suddenly, a loud bang shook the walls. Someone was trying to break through the door. "Keep your head," Marcus said. "We're not done yet. I've got a backup plan. There's a secret passage, an escape route I built years ago, just in case. Follow me." They navigated by memory, feeling their way through the dark, narrow tunnels beneath the mansion. Every step echoed ominously, like the pounding of a death drum. "Why are they so desperate?" Robert asked, voice hoarse. "They're protecting a monster," Marcus said bitterly. "The doctor, Bennett. He's not just a corrupt doctor. He's a criminal, a manipulator, a man who plays with children's lives like pawns in his sick experiments." They finally reached a hidden exit, concealed behind a false wall. Marcus pushed it open, revealing a narrow staircase spiraling down into the unknown. "Go," Marcus commanded. "Get out of here. I'll hold them off for as long as I can." Robert hesitated, torn between running and helping. But he saw the fire in Marcus's eyes. This was bigger than he'd ever imagined. He grasped Syme's hand, pulling him along. "Hold." "No, Robert whispered. "We're going to find the truth, no matter what it costs." As they disappeared into the darkness, the sounds of chaos and pursuit continued above. Someone's secret was unraveling, a secret that could destroy everything. And the real battle was only just beginning. The ground trembled beneath their feet as the explosion erupted again, brighter and more violent than anything they had seen. Flames shot into the sky, casting an ominous glow over the night. Robert, Syme, and Marcus staggered backward, their hearts pounding in their chests. They had survived the chaos of the mansion burning, but they knew this was only a brief pause. The real battle was far from over. Behind them, the towering inferno roared. The mansion, their nightmare, was collapsing into ash. But deep inside, they all felt it wasn't enough, that this was just the beginning of something much darker. Suddenly, a faint whisper drifted on the wind, chilling and sharp. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Robert froze, sensing that a voice, cold, calculated, was speaking directly to him. "You think it's over?" it hissed. "No, not yet." From the shadows stepped a figure, tall, gaunt, face pale, but eyes burning with an unnatural light. It was Dr. Bennett. His expression was calm, almost triumphant, like he had been waiting for this moment. "You think you've won?" Bennett's voice was smooth but deadly. "You've only uncovered a small part of the truth. The real game is just beginning." Before they could react, Bennett raised his hand. In it, he held a strange device, an ancient-looking contraption. Humming with a sinister glow, it radiated dark energy like a portal to another world. "Stop him!" Marcus shouted, lunging forward. But Bennett was quicker. With a flick, he activated the device. A blinding flash exploded outward, blinding everyone. The night was filled with an electric crackle, and then everything went silent. When the light faded, Robert found himself standing in a vast, endless white space. It stretched in all directions, no ground, no sky, just emptiness. Syme was gone. Marcus was gone. Everything had disappeared. A voice echoed, deep and resonant, filling the void. "You have entered the realm of truth." It boomed. Bennett's power has opened a door to the secrets of existence itself. And now you must choose. Forget everything and return to your world, or remember and face the darkness that lurks beyond. Robert's mind spun. Memories flooded him. Visions of a life he never knew, powers he never understood, and a terrible truth he had hidden deep inside. He saw himself as a guardian, a protector of worlds unseen, tasked with defending the fragile, balance between light and darkness. All his life he had been fighting shadows, shadows that were much bigger, much darker than he had ever imagined. The voice continued, softer now, but still commanding. "The dark forces Bennett summoned are only a fragment of a greater chaos. They threaten to consume all of reality, unless someone stands against them. That someone is you." Robert looked around wildly. The endless white space shimmered and images appeared. Visions of worlds in chaos, children crying, cities crumbling, and a shadowy figure looming over it all. The truth was terrifying but necessary. He clenched his fists, feeling the power deep within him, power he had never known he possessed. "Who am I really?" he whispered. "Why me?" the voice responded, gentle but firm. "Because you are the last line of defense, the chosen, the one who can see beyond the lies. You've always known there was more than what this world shows you. Now you remember." A wave of energy washed over him, and suddenly, memories flooded his mind. Moments from his childhood, glimpses of a hidden past, a secret life he had forgotten. He saw himself as a child, standing at the edge of worlds, holding a glowing orb, an ancient relic. He remembered Marcus's words, Syme's laughter, and the countless battles fought in silence. He remembered the promise he made long ago, to protect the innocent from the darkness. And then the voice whispered one final message echoing through his soul. "You are not alone. The fight continues, but now you hold the key. The world needs you to remember who you are, the guardian of the hidden realms, the keeper of truth. The white space shimmered brighter, and a portal formed before him, an opening into the unknown. He stepped forward knowing this was his destiny, but as he moved, a shadow emerged behind him. Bennett's voice again, cold and mocking. "You think you can escape? You think you can hide from the past?" Bennett's face appeared, sinister and triumphant. "I will return, and when I do, the chaos will be unleashed. You cannot stop what's coming." Robert turned sharply, eyes blazing with newfound power. "No," he said firmly. "This isn't the end, it's the beginning. I will stand in the darkness, whatever it takes, because I know the truth now, and I will fight for it, for everyone." With that, he stepped through the portal into a swirling vortex of colors and light. The darkness and chaos behind him faded, replaced by hope and purpose. He awoke on the ground outside the ruins of the mansion, the first light of dawn washing over him. The world was quiet, peaceful, yet everything had changed. The truth was out. The darkness had not been vanquished forever, but now Robert understood his true role. He was no longer just a man. He was a guardian, an eternal protector of the fragile balance between worlds. And he knew deep in his heart that the fight was far from over. The shadows still lurked, waiting for their moment. But he was ready, because he had remembered who he was, and the truth, once hidden, would never stay buried again. As the first rays of dawn broke through the shattered remnants of the mansion, Robert knelt on the scorched earth, trembling. The night had been a storm of chaos, fear, and revelations. Now silence stretched infinitely around him, heavy and profound. He looked down at his trembling hands, memories flooding his mind of Seam's innocence, Marcus's courage, and the terrible truth Bennett had tried to hide. All of it had come crashing down in flames, yet something deeper had risen. A flicker of hope, fragile but fierce. His heart ached with a strange mix of relief and grief. Relief that the darkness had been thwarted, at least for now. Grief for what was lost. Friends, innocence, a world that no longer felt safe. He had been changed forever, scarred yet stronger, burdened yet enlightened. He closed his eyes, trying to hold on to the warmth of Saim's smile, Marcus's unwavering trust, and the promise he made to himself long ago. To protect, to fight for, those who couldn't fight for themselves. But now, he wondered, was he enough? Could one man truly stand against the shadows that threatened to consume everything? A tear slipped down his cheek, unbidden, as he whispered softly, "Did I do enough?" Suddenly, a gentle breeze stirred the ashes, carrying a faint whisper, almost like a voice from beyond, soothing yet sorrowful. It was as if the world itself was speaking to him, reminding him of something vital. "You are more than you realize," it seemed to say. "Your fight is not just against darkness outside, but also within. You have carried burdens no one should bear, faced fears no one should see. Yet you kept walking, you kept believing." Robert's shoulders shook with quiet sobs. The weight of everything pressed down on him, the memories, the sacrifices, the fears. But amidst the ache, a spark of something new ignited. Acceptance. He finally understood that heroism wasn't about never falling. It was about rising again, even when the world seemed to shatter. It was about holding on to hope, even in the darkest moments. He looked up at the sky, now painted with soft pinks and golds. A single bird soared high, free and unburdened. It reminded him that life always moved forward, that even after the worst storms, new dawns would come. With trembling hands, Robert reached into his pocket and clutched a small, worn locket. Saim's. The one thing he still had of his little friend. It was a symbol of innocence, of love, of hope, he whispered, voice thick with emotion. "I promise, I'll keep fighting. For you. For everyone who can't. I may be broken, but I will never give up." As the sun rose higher, bathing the ruined landscape in light, Robert slowly stood up. His heart was heavy, but also filled with a quiet resolve. The darkness had been pushed back, at least for now. But the real battle was inside him, in every choice he would make from now on. He took a deep breath, feeling the cool morning air fill his lungs. Tears still shimmered in his eyes, but there was a new strength too, a promise to himself and to those he loved. He turned away from the ruins, not as a defeated man, but as someone who had found a new purpose, a purpose that would carry him through whatever darkness still lurked ahead. And as he walked into the rising sun, a gentle smile touched his lips, because he knew, deep in his soul, that even in the face of despair, hope could bloom again. He was no longer just a survivor. He was a guardian, an imperfect hero, scarred but unbroken, carrying the light of those he loved within him, and that light would never die.